What in the World War III is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is the weekly live of Prepper Talk Radio. Scott and Paris are in the house. Shane is out on family, but not medical leave of absence. So he'll be back next week. We miss him. We love him like crazy. He's our local Burt Gummer, the most meticulously prepared of the three of us. Especially in the world of pew-pews and whoop-de-doos. Like, guys I miss him. One of my highlights of the week is actually being on here with both of you, and it's like I'm only half as happy as I normally be because I only see one of my best friends.
Yeah, Shane. It's always fun to have Shane on here. He adds just such a great element to it. It's kind of fun to have the three of us just crank out our craziness and share our ideas. And right. So today we're going to have some fun. Just Scott and I, we're going to do a little deep dive into what's going on in the Middle East. I feel like it's important to talk a little bit about some of the history of what's the conflict going on over there, and maybe even talk about some of the religiosity of what's going on, and see what's happening. The overall picture is that the state of Israel is not the same as the house of Israel.
And we're going to dive into that. Before we do, though, make sure you guys go check out our good friends over at survivalfrog.com. You will save 10% when you use the promo code PrepperTalk10, the number 10, 10. So use that, save some money, get better prepared, have some fun along the way. And make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and follow on our YouTube channel here. And guys, if you're not already in Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance over on Facebook, hop in there. We have a fun time in there. That's where we converse and share ideas, things that we're doing and things that you're doing. Our audience, you guys can participate in all the communications there. It's fantastic. And lastly, guys, you need to get in the chats every week when we do the 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We've got Utah Mike, Rebecca, we've got Thedra, we've got Field Tack. Like, the chat room is just starting to load up and blow up. So we're excited. That's what drives. Oh, WebDad's in there. So is Whited. Like, that's what drives. And Sandra, man, it's filling up fast. That's what drives a lot of our conversation and future topics for other shows. So make sure you come participate. We love it. We freaking appreciate every single one of you. You guys are why we do this. So now that we've talked about you, our family, let's talk about what in the World War III is going on over there. Okay, so you just dropped this nugget that's not the house of Israel.
Yeah, so a lot of, especially right now, we're seeing a lot of Christians and a lot of people that believe that the state of Israel is the God's chosen people on the earth. And while I don't disagree that God loves his people that are in that state of Israel, but the state of Israel is, if you do a little digging, and actually what's interesting is that right now, X, if you go on X and you look at all the trending, what's over there, you'll see some of the same things we're going to talk about tonight. And I'll reference that a little bit more later. But one of the things that I want to, Scott and I were talking about earlier, is kind of do a little history lesson on the people of the Middle East. So Abraham kind of kicked off this whole thing. Everybody over there has a belief. Not everybody. I say the majority of the nations, the governments, the religious leaders over there, they have a belief that they are descendants of Abraham. And Abraham kind of kicks off a lot of this. I promise, by the way, we will bring this religious history lesson back into prepping and how it all relates. But Abraham kind of kicked off the whole area over there with his family. And the big deal is Abraham had a son named Isaac through his wife, Rebecca. And he also had another son from Hagar. And Hagar was a second wife of his. And Hagar had a son named Ishmael. And God, because Sarah and Abraham, there were some household conflicts. There were some domestic disputes, and Hagar was kicked out. Abraham didn't really like it, but Sarah was his first wife, and he focused on her, and Hagar was kicked out. And God came to Hagar and promised her that she would have her son, the son of Abraham, would be blessed, and she would have great blessings through his lineage. And his lineage, if you do a search, of course, consider the source for Google, but if you do a search right now on Google, you will see that the modern day Arabs, or the modern day Saudi Arabia, that whole that area is what is considered the descendants of Ishmael, who are the descendants of Abraham. Then there's another son that he had, Isaac, with Sarah, and then Isaac was sorry, not Rebecca. That was the wrong patriarch.
That's
in the
granddaughter.
Yeah. So Abraham has, with Sarah, have the son Isaac, and Isaac is Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob. Yeah, Jacob.
That's where the house of Israel comes from.
Yeah, and
Jacob his name was changed to Israel later.
Yeah, so Isaac has Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob is born to Isaac, and Jacob has a fight because he was technically the second born, and the firstborn of Isaac was Esau. Mm-hmm. And Esau, what's interesting is that there's some real interesting passages in the Bible about how this all went down, and I'm like, that's a little subterfuge, a little
there was some lying, there was some cheating, there was some
there was some. I feel like how did God honor this? Anyways, that's a whole nother theological question. Yeah. But Esau and Jacob, if you know, Esau came out first, Jacob came out second. So technically, the birthright of Jacob and all of his inheritance and all his wealth were supposed to go to Esau. Well, if you know Rebecca, the wife of Jacob, they did a little subterfuge and they did a switcheroo. And Jacob, who was at that point Israel, he became Israel. He was told that Jacob was Esau and Esau was Jacob, and he blessed Jacob with the blessings that were supposed to go to the firstborn, who was Esau. And that whole robbery, so to speak, is part of the reason why there's such a conflict. That's how far back this conflict goes. So the son Ishmael, the son of Hagar, who was the son of Abraham, they have a little bit of this outsider. Hey, we're the descendants of Abraham. We deserve the blessings of Abraham. Mm-hmm. Then we have Jacob, who was then renamed Israel, and he is actually the house of Israel. That is the house of Israel. And in God's terms, the lineage, the descendants, the bloodline is called the house of Israel. And Israel had 12 sons. One of those sons was Judah. Judah is where we get Jews. So Jews are actually 1/12 of the house of Israel. So that's kind of so when you think about the house of Israel, don't get caught up in, it's only the Jews. Well, no, it's actually all of the sons of Israel that are in that blessing and under that covenant and under that blessing. So when we say we need to protect Israel, yes, we do need to protect Israel, but it's the house of Israel, not the state of Israel. What does that mean? Well, the world elites figured out, and the world elites we're talking about right now is called the Rothschilds. Scott, do you want to jump in here at all?
Sorry. Yeah, so we've identified that there's all these different groups. We've identified they've used the wrong terms on a lot of them, but there's also the issue of they all have a claim, whether it's legitimate or not. They all have a claim on the same lands.
They believe they do, for sure.
Claim, yeah, they're all making a claim for the same birthrights, the same promises, right? And there's the feud between Ishmael and Isaac. There's the feud between Esau and Jacob. There's the feud between all 12 of the brothers, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the two grandsons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who also got a seat at the table, right? So there's all these feuds going on over there. And what's crazy is who's there right now aren't any of them, at least not by bloodline.
Yep.
And that's where we get this whole crazy thing. It's like, we have to support Israel, says the Bible, right? That's where a lot of us are like, oh yeah. But then when you understand that's not Israel, where are Israel? There's still many of them lost, but they're all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really going on, and what are the nefarious purposes going on over there? Because it is not what you think it is. It's trending all over X, which is
It's a
kind of
psyop.
funny. There's a massive psyop going on over there, and they're all kind of getting fed up with it. And when I say they, all the non-Israel groups are getting fed up with it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's going to fisticuffs.
Yeah, because they believe that they have the birthright, and they know that the people that are currently occupying the land of Jerusalem and Israel, the land, which is a holy and sacred land. It's where the Lord and Savior walked while he was in mortality. Absolutely 100%. I believe and I honor that. The state of Israel, which is the government, was actually created by the Balfour Agreement in 1917 by the Rothschilds.
Yep.
The whole idea that in 1948, the state of Israel, which was formed, everybody calls that the gathering of Israel, or a state of gathering of Israel. And actually what ends up happening it wasn't a gathering of Israel. It was a gathering of who gathered to the, so that what's funny about this is we have different, Israel is the land, Israel is the state, and Israel is the bloodline, the descendants of the house of Israel. So when I say Israel, I need to be more clear on who's who and what's what. So the land of Israel, who occupies the land of Israel, when it became the state or the government of Israel, they sent out a call. Hey, we've created the state of Israel. Anybody who's Jewish needs to come. And remember, Jews are from Judah, who was 1/12 of the tribe. There's Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin.
Impressive.
Well, I had the list up here.
You had the list, I could tell, but I was like, still impressive.
Thank you. So those are the 12 sons along with Judah. So they are also under the covenant and under the protection of Israel, God's people. However, in 1917, the Rothschilds realized, hey, and I don't know, I wasn't in the meeting, but this is just Paris Clough talking out, his on all the research I've done. This is what I've figured out. And this is my funny version of it, of course. The Rothschilds are like, hey, how do we fake out these Christians to get them to think that Israel, how can we create an Israel to fake these Christians out, to get them to support something that really isn't what they think it is, but to get them to believe that it is what they think it is? Did you follow that?
And so their plan was, let's fund this movement to get all the countries to agree and to give this land back to them, and then bring in, air quotes, the state of Israel with these false Jews. Right?
Yep.
And they may have converted to Judaism, but the bloodline doesn't exist in most of these situations. And that's one of the interesting factors, because the fact is, did you know it's illegal to use 23andMe or any of the DNA test systems in Israel?
I didn't know that.
It's a legal offense with jail time. You are not allowed to use those there. Wonder why? Right? I can't go use Ancestry and figure it out. Nope, you can't. It's a jailable offense. So those weird things make you understand, okay, there's a major psyop going on. There's a major play being played out. All the world's a stage.
So where are the other 11, so to speak, tribes? If the Jews or the Judahites have the land over there, where's the other 11? They're all over the world. They're all over Africa for sure. They're all over the Middle East as well, and they're potentially intermingled. So one of the big reasons why is that in ancient Israel, the land of Israel, in ancient Judah, I guess we'll just call it Israel. Anciently, there was the northern kingdom, which was run and ruled by Ephraim, who was from the tribe of Joseph. They ran, and their capital was actually Samaria. And so the Samaritans, anyways, reference there. Then the southern kingdom was the Judah, Benjamin, and the Levites. The northern kingdom held the other 9 Actually, they held 12 tribes because Reuben actually lost his birthright, but he was technically still a son. And Joseph split into 2. So Joseph became 2. And that's why we still have 12, but technically there's 13. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. God does what he wants to do. So anyways, the northern kingdom was like, hey, the tribe of Ephraim, they wanted to rule over all of Israel. They wanted to rule over the whole house of Israel, all the brothers. They wanted to rule over all of them. And so they're like, hey, Syria, or Assyria at the time, Babylon, if you will. Hey, we want to make a deal with you. Like, our army isn't big enough to take out the southern kingdom, our brothers in the southern kingdom. What if we made a deal with you where you join your army with our army, and we'll go down there and we'll take out the southern kingdom? Well, the Assyrians were like, yeah, let's do it. The Babylonians are like, sweet. Yeah, that's one of the most fruitful places in the world. We're going to finally somebody can destroy God's people. When God's people fight against themselves, then non-God people can win potentially if they join. But here's the deal. And more subterfuge, more intrigue. The Assyrians decided, we're going to actually backstab the northern kingdom and the Ephraimites. And so they backstab them, and they completely wipe out the northern kingdom and bring everybody into Babylon. And then they live in Babylon for hundreds of years.
Key thing, they brought them all into bondage. They brought them all in as slaves.
Yes, they brought them all as slaves. And then King Cyrus, by the way, which has been recently referenced as somebody that's currently in the administration, to somebody who's been currently administrating. King Cyrus said, you know what, we don't need you as slaves anymore, or we don't like this idea of you having you be slaves anymore. We're going to let you go back to your lands. So they released all of the northern kingdomites back to their lands. And when they came back, they had mixed and mingled for hundreds of years. They had mixed and mingled. So the descendants of the original bloodline, the purebloods, when they came back, all of the southern kingdom were still pure, so to speak. Their bloodlines were still pure. And that's one of the major reasons why they hated the Samaritans so much, is because they were mixed. They had diluted the bloodline of Israel, and they were no longer, the Jews felt like the tribe of Judah felt like they were superior to them. So the religion of the Hebrews, which is all 12 tribes, the Hebrew religion became, the Jews took over that religion because of their superiority complex, because they were purebloods. And they ran once the northern kingdom finally came back to inherit its places, the Jews said, no, you're inferior to us. We're going to be the leading ruling class. And Judah took over and became the leading ruling class in Jerusalem. And that's what we have today, basically.
Well, until Roman captivity, and there was other things that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were all spread. Eventually, everybody was spread all over the earth. They were taken captive everywhere, and
not everybody wanted to come back. So
right.
when Cyrus said, "Hey, you know what? Go home," they're like, "What? We got nothing. Home? That was our great grandpa that had that place. We want to go wherever we want." And so they did. You're right. You're absolutely right. They spread all over, and they started to really. And what's interesting is, because of the spread, there was a group in near Mongolia, southern India, whatever you want to call it, that they were called the Khazars, Khazar. And they actually were looking for a religion. They didn't have a central, a unifying religion. And they were looking at, they were looking at the Asian religions. They were looking at the other religions. And then all of a sudden, the Jewish people start talking to them, and their leaders are like, wow, this is something we can all rally behind. And the Khazars, actually, it was like a nation. It was like they were nomads. So they didn't really have a country, so to speak, or a land. They were more nomadic. The Khazars actually said, you know what, we're going to convert. And for hundreds of years, they were Jews. And so when the state of Israel was formed, that's the group that went and said, hey, we have a place now. They went. And so today in Israel, the state of Israel, the country of Israel, the vast majority of the tribe of Judah, or the Jews that are there, are Khazar Jews, not original bloodline house of Judah, house of Israel, God's chosen people, Jews. Now, again, God loves all of us. God has given all of us opportunities to repent and to come unto him and to be forgiven and to be a part of his family. However, the actual biblical bloodline promises, covenants, don't go to the Khazar Jews. They go to the bloodline house of Israel, all 12 tribes, not just the tribe of Judah.
So now that we understand that, now let's look back. Okay, there's all this going on between the state of Israel now and Iran, right? And the powder keg is going off. It's
That's because Esau. Now, let's
right?
quickly just fill in this gap real quick. Esau is the descendants of Esau are the Palestinians.
Yep.
And Iran is very pro-Palestine. And so Iran, whether they're Palestinians or not, or they're descendants of Esau. So remember, way back when, Esau was the son of Israel. Esau and Isaac, sorry. Esau and Jacob were the two brothers that had the falling out, and then they kind of got back together. As the two of them actually worked it out, but apparently their descendants decided to keep the feud going. And so the big feud right now is that the Palestinians, who are descendants of Esau, the Arabs, who are descendants of Ishmael, they all have this bloodline hatred, family feud hatred towards anybody that was a Jacob or Israelite, house of Israel and the 12 brothers. So that's the big argument over there. Is that's why it's still going. It's this huge feud, this family feud that's now.
That's the Middle Eastern Hatfield versus McCoys.
Yeah, right.
Right. Here we've got the Hatfields and McCoys. It's iconic. It's legendary. Over there, it's Esau versus Israel, and so there's conflicts. They all want what they think they deserve.
Yes.
And, okay, so now we fast forward. We've got war breaking out. They're bombing each other. What does that mean for us, right? They're going to try, the powers that be are going to try to bait us and goad us into wanting to side with one or the other. The reality is either way, it's a bad idea. Either way, it's a problem. And I wanted to share a thing from Thedra. She was absolutely right on this. She's talking about that, like, as this continues to go kinetic, as it gets worse, there will be a major problem. Oh, there it is, with the Strait of Hormuz. It's a huge trade avenue.
Yeah,
that can go completely blocked off. That will reroute shipping. That will reroute so many things that we rely on, and that's going to cost us a lot of money.
One of the main things that Scott and I talked about as sharing this history is not to be deceived and be discerning, because they're going to trigger us with, hey, if you're a Christian and you don't support Israel, you're not a Christian anymore, or you're not following God's plan. Like, that's religious. So it's called a logical fallacy. And I think it's an appeal to authority or appeal to something. Anyways, it's a logical fallacy. You now know, if you watch this and paid attention to what I shared, you now know that the state of Israel has nothing to do with the house of Israel. Well, I wouldn't say nothing to do, but as much less to do with the house of Israel than what we're going to be goaded into thinking. So I've seen all kinds of interviews. I've actually seen all kinds of, Tucker Carlson had an interview with Ted Cruz, and they're like, look, I've been told my whole life in church that if we bless Israel, we'll be blessed. If we curse Israel, we'll be cursed. We need to go over there and we need to fight. No, if you understand what the Rothschilds did, you'll know it's a psyop. They're triggering us and goading us. They're trolling us into something that isn't even what it really is.
Well, and that's
all I want you to know.
Who's profited off all the wars?
The Rothschilds.
The global banking cabal, right?
Yeah.
That's their business, is starting wars, starting feuds. Maybe they're behind the Hatfields and McCoys too. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But that's the situation, right? And it's funny because our chat has gone completely down the rabbit hole of Ancestry DNA and 23andMe, and now they're going into hospitals and what's happening with placenta. Like, guys, you've got to go read the comments. There's so much gold in there. But looking at what's going on globally, right? Whether you're a flat earther or not, like, whatever shape it is, whatever's happening across the world. I don't know how to say this anymore because everybody's offended. You need to think about how this is going to affect us as preppers, how this is going to affect us in America.
Yes. They're
baiting us to try to join in, right? And for a long time, America was right lockstep with Israel in all things. Trump's telling everybody that's over in Iran, I think specifically Tehran, to get out, and has it was like immediate. And I believe he walked out of the G20 meeting. Is that right? The summit?
Yeah, he did, and they were saying that there were some conspiracies abound as to why, but there's a lot of military. I just watched another thing, and there's a lot of military movement. They're doing inventories in our bases. They created a whole bunch of stuff. They actually did a lockdown on airspace over Iran. I don't think it's worked though, because they just shot a bunch of stuff off, and the Iron Dome, some of the stuff they had was bigger than the Iron Dome. Our friend Eric Moutsos, who we shared a video of his last week on the riots and his idea. He shared another video recently about how Netanyahu, since 1995, Netanyahu has said that Iran will have nuclear weapons in the next 3 to 5 years. He said that about every 5 to 10 years, that they will have nuclear weapons in the next few months to years. Well, here we are 30 years later.
Right.
Do they have them or not? You know what I mean? Like,
psyop.
So it's like what's really been going? And it was funny actually to see, because he actually posted of all these UN videos and interviews of Netanyahu over the years. And it was funny to have him today, total gray hair, total wrinkles, all the way back to when he was, brown hair, young, spry young man, early in his career as a politician. It was kind of interesting to see that. But the idea is, again, are we being led into a psyop? Are we being led into an ambush? And preppers need to know if there's an ambush. We need to know what we're being led into and why, and not the reasons they tell us, but the real reasons. And that's why if you go to X right now and you type in Rothschilds, you type in Balfour, Balfour agreement, 1917, you will see it's off the hook right now. And I'm grateful, because that's what's real. There's people out there that know this stuff, that have talked about this stuff. And so we should not be led to, if we're going to be led to water, let's be led to clean water, not diluted, potentially poisonous water, or lied to about what we're being led into.
Yeah. It's there's a lot. Like, we could go on for hours on this, and I don't want to, but I want to focus on, okay, what are we doing about what's going on? What do we need to pay attention to? What do we need to be preparing for? Because all of our episodes, we want to leave you with guidance, at least our perspective on guidance and what you can be doing now to be better prepared, right? It's going to continue to escalate, right? Thankfully, we're far enough away that what we're going to feel is mostly financial, but there's a very good chance that troops are going to get called over there at some point in the near future. It's a very good chance. Is it absolutely guaranteed? No, I don't know. But there's talk of it, that there will be an American response to this. It could be an American economic response to those areas, and say, okay, we're backing out of all support for all parties involved until you two bickering, fighting kids get your act together and start getting along, right? And you never know what, what do they call him? The commander in the Tangerine commander in chief guy, Donald Trump. You never know what he's going to say. And he will say whatever he can to polarize people and aggrandize things, because he's a salesman at the end of the day who happens to also be POTUS. Love him or hate him, it's a show. It's an absolute show. And some of the things he does, I agree with. Some of the things he does, I'm like, I don't understand.
One was that huge cyber attack. I don't know if it was from that cyber attack or as a result of the cyber attack, but there was some, like, several 5 terabytes of data that was stolen from highly secured locations. And that data, there's some speculation. This is 100% speculation. What I heard that's in that data was the Epstein files. And they're like, what if Iran releases the Epstein files, and then Trump and all of our government officials are off the hook, and we can't have, they're free from retaliation because we didn't release them. Iran released them. Who knows? Again, that's pure speculation, but that cyber attack, apparently Iran, somebody over there was able to really do some things. The other thing that I really think is important for us as preppers to think about is that think about China for a minute. If China sees all of the focus on American troops and all of the NATO troops and all the UN troops all over there in Middle East, they're going to be like, hey, while everyone's busy, let's go take Taiwan. We can't defend Taiwan if all of our efforts and resources are over in the Middle East. So just be watching for that as well. And if Taiwan goes down, then that's going to be huge trade issues there with all of the technology, the chips and microchips, not potato chips, tortilla chips, like microchips and all the technology stuff that's coming out of those areas. Like we're seeing huge things coming out of those areas for technology and improvements in technology. So that's something to be important and watch out for as well. So one of the things that I think that if is important to know, if you're going to go to war, you need to know why you're going to war, and it's got to be for good reasons. And that's why we just want to share some of the things that we've known and some of the research we've done as to, hey, look, what's the conflict about over there really about? And one of the big things over, especially in the Middle East, is what's called a holy war. So it's very religious. It's very religiously motivated and focused. And I've seen some of the videos coming out of Iran right now that these girls are taking off the hijabis or whatever they call them. I totally did. If I ruined that, no disrespect at all. I just don't know how to pronounce it very well. The hijabs, they're taking them off and they're going against the regime over there. So there's some real human rights issues going on too that are really important, I think, to realize. But as preppers, what can we do to be ready and be prepared? One is to know the truth about what's really going on. And two, what can we do locally to help prepare for anything that's happening, even globally? And so that's, I think, what we want to talk about next, right, Scott?
Sure. Yeah, I had other stuff too, but I'll wait.
Oh, no, jump in, dude. This is
good. Well, so there's chatter in the chat about the Corporation of the United States being disbanded this week. I don't believe that happened, but I do know that in 2023, the Corporation of the United States of America, United States of America Corporation Limited was dissolved, which was a UK corporation that was dissolved back in 2023. That's a different matter. But then also the U.S. Steel was purchased by Nippon. I'm probably not saying that right either. We can jump into that a little bit later, but those are definitely things that are going on at the same time that are going to affect us, right? So I know I totally hijacked, but I want to come back because there's so much going on. Like with understanding what's going on with internationally with Iran, internationally, like we get what's funny is one of the most famous steels in knives right now has been for probably 15 years, Damascus steel. Not that it's from Damascus, from Iran, but it's the layering and etching method to create like folding over metal, over metal, over metal, over metal to make really cool patterns, right? Damascus steel. But what's interesting is we know that things have gone off the rails when the city of Damascus, according to Isaiah 17, is a ruinous heap, like it doesn't exist anymore. And it's not far from that already. But we are getting closer and closer and closer. And so it's interesting that I'm like, wow, steel, all the U.S. steel just got bought for $18+ billion by Nippon Steel. And I'm like, who the crap is Nippon Steel? But also like, what is happening all over the world? Because little things are happening all over the place. And if like you'd mentioned, if this gets bigger and we get involved, China can hop in because our back's turned. They can hop in and take Taiwan. Well, then what's going to happen to Ukraine? I think Thader asked that. What'll happen with Ukraine? Will Russia be like, doink, it's ours, right?
Yeah. I think Russia would back Iran.
Yeah, they're allies. They have been for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're going to be like, okay, you're going to mess with Iran. We're going to take over Ukraine. We're going to finally do what we wanted to do all along.
Yeah. They're going to plink up. They're going to take care of Ukraine for sure as retaliation to anything that we do, because we're partnered with Ukraine, apparently.
Interesting. Oh my gosh. And okay, now I'm learning Nippon has been in the U.S. since the 70s, but they're also a Japanese conglomerate. Part U.S., part Japanese. Like, guys, what the? And it's private businesses, anyways. At the end of the day, like just because it said U.S. Steel didn't mean it was the United States owned any part of it or had any benefit from it, other than they were manufacturing. It was steel plants here in the United States manufacturing raw ore into steel. And it used to be one of the greatest companies in the world for producing the highest quality, highest grade steel. Not so much anymore. That's a conversation that Shane was here for, because he's like the steel guru in our little group. Like he knows more about different types of it because he's studied it. And I miss that kid. But guys, our chat's popping off. It's amazing, good stuff. But yeah, Russia, Iran, and China are buddy. So those three fronts, it's interesting. We've got the Taiwan escalation we're concerned with. We've got the Iran-Israel escalation, their war that's going on, whatever you want to call it right now. That's a concern. And then we've got the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. We're on three fronts in any instant of change. So will our commander-in-chief adjust and target any of those? I don't know. We need to be watchful of that, but definitely need to be more aware of what we're doing with our prepping time. We need to get in better health fast. We need to be active. That's my primary focus right now. Definitely invest more beans, bullets, and Band-Aids as usual, because those are the things that are going to cost more. Thankfully, we have a lot of manufacturers in the United States that produce a lot of bullets locally, and a lot of medical stuff you can get locally. It's going to cost you a little more, but get it now, just so you have it. It's always better to stockpile than to go without when the crisis hits. But I would definitely stock up on beans and rice. I would stock up on some rabbits in your backyard if you can do it, or some quail. Most neighborhoods don't mind with either one of those, because rabbits can produce more meat in a year than a cow can.
Yeah, that's true.
The feed's cheaper and the space they take up is small. It's a great solution. We had a podcast episode on that a while ago. Go back and watch that. I'm really, really like rethinking my priorities as far as, should I start that now, even though I haven't moved. I might have to go build some hutches. But guys, you have a responsibility to yourself and to your family to be better prepared and to be aware of everything that's going on, so that you can eliminate as many potential threats in your life as possible. Health being the biggest threat to your situation. An injury, an untimely death, or a disease can absolutely wreck your personal economy and your personal home, right? Everything that's going on. Your family will be completely disrupted by any of those, whether it's you or your spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the first two people you got to take care of. It's the same idea as when you take a flight with your kids. Who do you put the mask on first, Paris, when the little oxygen mask drops?
Yourself.
Right? Because if you're passed out, you can't put it on your kid and then put it on yourself still. Like, you got to put it on yourself first, and then take care of the kid. You need to do the same thing in your household. And a lot of people have been letting it slide for far too long. You got to get on top of this stuff, because time is running out. And I don't want to be a fear propaganda guy. I want you to just take more seriously your efforts in preparedness. Have you gone through your personal gear and checked to make sure everything still works? Do you have backup paper and pens? Do you have waterproof paper and pens? Do you have backup books, backup electronics? Do you have a backup power system? Right? We're going to go deeper into these topics in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about backup energy solutions. There was an amazing conversation. If you come back and watch and read the chat here, they're talking about inverters and different things you need to be getting more of, and how to, stay away from sine wave solutions, because it's just, you're paying extra for an inverter that you could do a lot cheaper, right? That's all in our feed. Come back and watch our videos. Come back and read the feed over on YouTube. It's archived with the videos, every one of our lives. That is a playlist that I love, because I learned as much going back through and watching and reading again as I did in prep for the shows. And yes, back to the basics.
That's what I think. A lot of people get fear mongered into making quick decisions, and those are often, in my experience, quick decisions are often not the best decisions that I could have made in my life. And so, if you have the ability to take a deep breath and watch what's going on in the world, and yet say, you know what, I'm just going to think globally, act locally. What can I do today to help make the world a better place? What can I do today to, work with my neighbor to have peace and happiness? So what can you do today to build your preps? What do you need? More food? Do you need more water? Do you need more gear? If you need more gear, what is it? And make sure that you're getting the right kind of gear, because if you only have a limited budget for stuff, you want to make sure you are prioritizing everything that you're getting, so that you're getting the most important things that you need right away. I think we've done. Let me just see what episode it was. It was probably about 15 or so episodes ago. We did the 10 fundamentals of self-reliance and self-sufficiency. Go back and listen to that one, because that one will give you kind of the 10 areas where it would be good to start and focus in on. And then, and we tried to do a whole video on each one, a whole podcast on each one. And aren't we on like 8 or 9, Scott?
Well, we're jumping around. We've got like 6 of them done. We're kind of jumping around because we got other topics in between, but we haven't been doing them in order. And that was kind of by design. And we actually kind of included a couple in one episode. So yeah, over the last few months, like get in on it, because it's been some really good stuff. And Utah Mike is saying he can't see the chat. The way to see the chat is actually if you look in the comment section.
I think he's asking in the replay.
Yeah, in the replay. There is.
I think when you go to the live, if you go to our YouTube channel and then go to live, click on the live button, you should be able to, and then click on the actual video you want to see. I think it'll show the what do you call it? The comment section.
Yeah, it's they call it the. Oh, no, it's not the transcript. I'll find it and I'll share it in our group. Live chat replay is not available for this video. I need to go back and double check our settings, because it used to be available on all of them. I need to fix that. There must have been a YouTube change. So I will get that fixed so you guys can read the chats, but that's just more, make sure you're here live. It's more fun. It's more educational. Shoot. I didn't know they changed that. I've got videos from 9 months ago where it was still there, so I'll have to see what's going on. All right. Well, guys, we're almost out of time for today. It's a shorter show because there's just the two of us. But in final thoughts, knowing what's going on in Israel, knowing what's going on in Iran, first and foremost, pray for peace. Pray for solutions. Focus on your family's personal preparedness needs and get that taken care of before you think about anything else. Now is not a time to spend a lot of money on vacations. Not time to open up new credit cards and get in greater debt. Now is the time to get your house in order. The less you have to stress about, the less you have to manage and maintain, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest mistake I see preppers make is not rotating their stuff. Things will expire. Things can expire. Also, making sure that stuff is secured, meaning rodents, bugs, and other stuff aren't getting into them, because if they're getting into them, guess what? Bad guys can get to them easier too. Any final thoughts or words you want to share or pipe in, Paris? Or
I just, I don't like war. I don't like contention of any kind. Unfortunately, from time to time, conflict has to happen, because we have to negotiate. I really love the 12-step program. And in the 12-step program, step 10 is where you reconcile in real time. And so if you have a conflict, whether it's personal, neighborhood, community, nation, world related, there's got to be a way to talk through it and get through it. And there's some people you can negotiate with and get and figure things out. And there's some people you just you can't, and you got to just move on. And there's bullies in this world, and there's people that are going to do evil and nefarious things. And that's why it's so important for good people to have the capacity to curb the tide of evil. And we don't need to be seeking it out. We just need to be willing to curb it and put it in check, and not let them gain ground and bully anybody else. And so and I'm not saying anybody's doing that right now. I'm just saying that I don't like the fact that there's people being hurt, and good people in the world that don't deserve what's happening are having things happen to them that suck eggs, if you will. But I also understand the reality of discernment. Make sure you're discerning, make sure you're wise, make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on in the world, and that you're not being, how should I say, you're not being triggered into reacting, but that you're taking the opportunity to choose your response to what's happening rather than reacting to what's happening. So be wise and choose, and make sure that you're doing everything that you can to stay aware and stay alert and stay awake. That's kind of the last thing I would say, is just don't be triggered if possible. And that's hard for me too, because I get triggered by tons of stuff all the time. But work on it.
Make sure you've got a good group of people that can help keep you level-headed.
Yeah,
that's part of why Paris and Shane and I are all such good friends, is like we can calm each other down. We can also help put perspective into things.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, get that. Man, it can really improve your life. So, guys, thanks for tuning in and not tuning out. Thanks for keeping that head on a swivel and not getting caught up in all the hysteria that the media is trying to keep you caught up in. Make sure you're finding good sources to get your information. That's what we're trying to do. We're not the best all the time, right? We make mistakes, but we improve, and we improve mostly because of you guys who are our friendly fact checkers. You'll call us out. I've been called out many times by you guys. It's been awesome. I'm like, oh, well, I was wrong on that. I apologize. Let's get some info, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always happy to do that. I'm always happy to be part of this amazing community. You guys are amazing. Thank you for listening in and being part of the active part of Prepper Talk Radio. We're going to catch you on the next episode. And until then, stay safe. Have a great week.
Take care, guys.
Later.